So to start over, we are going to be covering custom fields and custom screens. So here, my screen should be sharing here in a moment. And what I'm talking about is adding a field to one of the existing screens. And there are a number of screens that you can add one or more fields to. Or if that isn't sufficient, maybe you want to create your own screen to handle whatever it is that you would like to do. So maybe it just doesn't make sense to add it to, let's say, the demographic screen or the position screen, and you want to design your own screen that has all of that information in one place rather than, maybe it being kind of added to somewhere else. So should be able to see my browser here. Let me go ahead and I'm going to restart where I was, which is kind of talking about it a little bit, making a custom screen. So here's an example of a custom screen I have called company property. And I've added a field and some details down here where I can do that. So we're going to talk about how we set that up. And then a custom field would be something maybe you add onto demographics or the position. And these show at the bottom. I believe I have one on this screen. I don't, but we'll add one here. But you can add something maybe to the custom or a custom field to this screen to track something. Maybe you need one more phone number or another email address or something like that. So you can do whatever you like as far as adding one in there. So where do we do that? Of course, is in the settings. So I'm going to talk about custom fields and adding those first, and then I'll do custom screens. So here you can see under system configuration, you'll see custom fields. All right. Now, when you come to this screen, you do need to tell it which screen you want to add it to. And like I mentioned, there are quite a few that you can add it to. So you'll see them all right here. So I'm going to just do the demographics because that is, that's where I was. I was already on the demographics screen. So I see employee demographics here. And I don't have one. I have this one here, but I'm going to go ahead and add another one just to show you how this works. So first thing you need to do is tell it what type of data that you would like to collect. Maybe it's going to be a date field or a text field or something like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and make one called a text field, and I'm going to make it favorite sports team. All right. So that's going to be my code there. Now the code doesn't need to be the same as the label, but it can be. So if you want to call it favorite sports team, you can. The label, of course, is going to be what people are going to see when they look at the demographic screen. So that's what that's for there. So maybe you want to abbreviate this to like team or fave team or something like that. You're certainly welcome to do that. I'm going to copy and paste that there. The length. Now, when I'm doing a text field, I do need to put in the length. So, imagine the longest sports team name that you could think of and maybe go a little bit more than that or whatever it is or whatever you're going to collect. Now, obviously, if it's going to be something where it's only going to be 3 digits or 3 characters, you can set it to 3. But, maybe somebody's a fan of a team and they're in, a city name is super long and then the team name is long or something. Maybe you need to make this super long. So I'm going to just go ahead and make it 50 like that. All right, the field format here, this allows you to format the field in certain ways. So if I want to do that, obviously with a sports team, I don't need to do these things, but you can do that there. Hidden. Now, when you create one brand new, probably doesn't make a lot of sense to make it hidden unless you're not ready to start using it. And then you're going to start using it later in the future. But that's going to make it so that you don't see that field on the screen. Similar to that is show in ESS. So that's why I didn't see it in ESS when I went to demographics. There was already one there, but it's not showing in ESS. So it's hidden in ESS, but it's actually visible if I go to the employee's record. And then required, of course, makes it so that somebody has to fill something into that field before they can save any information on that field. Now, of course, if I add this after I already have data in the system, it's not going to throw an error and say, well, you can't do this because you already have a bunch of people in there with demographics. It just means going forward, as soon as I save this, going forward, that must be filled in for me to save the demographic screen. All right, I'm going to check show in ESS and save. So this one is not shown in ESS. That's why it's not there. The other one is. So what does that mean? When I go to the employees, let me pick somebody, and I go to their demographic screen, I have these 2 fields here. And when I go to self-service, I'm just going to have one. Let me refresh because I just added the field. and I just have the one field because the other one is not shown in ESS. And that might be something, maybe you're doing a census report and you need some piece of information or a code that you're going to put on their screen. It's not relevant to what the employee needs to see in self-service, might be add more confusion or something like that. So you might want to hide it in self-service. Those not to be confusing. All right, so that's adding it to a screen, and you can add really as many as you like to here. If you needed to add 10 different custom fields, you certainly could do that. And then these will be available in things like the ad hoc reports to be able to get this data out if you need to do that. All right, so that's a custom field. And like I said, you can add those in lots of different places. So you'll see here assignment, that's the position. Benefit plans, dependents, employee, that's the employment screen there. The employee additional demographic screen, the employee benefits, and that's different. The benefit plan is the plan setup. The employee benefit is the employee's benefit, each benefit they have. The courses, employee courses. The employer, we do have settings in here. Sometimes when you're doing things like E-Verify, we'll get to that, I think, in a couple of weeks here. We're doing E-Verify. So we do have things in here. And some of our apps for different ERPs and stuff, we have different settings in there. So you might see these. Don't touch these if you don't know what they are. So we might be using that. And if you were to hide it or delete it, then it might cause some problems. So reach out to support if you see something in there and you're not sure what that is. Position, that's the position setup, not the position on the employee. Reviews, T4 form if you're doing Canadian payroll stuff, and then the timesheet. So you can see different screens where you can add those fields. All right, so when you do that, they're available there. Now, one of the things that I do want to mention, like timesheets, then after you add a timesheet field, you do need to go to the timesheet itself and add it in there. So if I add a field here, like subtask, I do need to go to the timesheet layout and tell it that I want to use subtask on my timesheet. So let's just say it's this one here. I need to go down to my custom fields and use it. It doesn't automatically add it to timesheets. All right, so custom fields in a nutshell there. Now, custom screens, very similar, but you're starting with your own screen. Now, one of the things I should mention in custom fields and custom screens is you can also make a custom code table. So you might have seen when I did custom fields, there was a drop down, there was an option to do a drop down. That is a code table. So let's talk about that first. I'm going to make that on my custom screen. So when you go to your code tables, you will see custom as one of the types. So system are tables that the system needs for a bunch of different settings. You cannot change these. You could certainly look at them and see things like, oh, accrual periods or whatever it is. But you can't change these things. You'll notice here I can't click and edit them or anything like that. All right. User, these are ones you can change, and these are a number of different drop-down menus in the system here. For an example, departments. You may need to add a department or change something or whatever, put the description in a different language. You can change these, add these, delete them if they're not in use. And of course, I can hide them as well, make them inactive. Custom, these are custom drop-down menus that I'm going to create for different things. And you can see I've got a few already. So I've got like color, right? I've got different colors in here as an example. Favorite sport, and there's some sports, etc. So you can see how you might do these. Now, you may also see some in here for things that are related to your ERP or other apps that are connected to our system. Again, before you just go and add and delete stuff in here, you may want to check with support or your partner to figure out what that stuff is before you just delete it or edit it. All right, so I'm going to do, well, I already have one here called favorite sport. I'm just going to add a thing in here. So when you create a new one, if this is blank, allows me to create a new one. So maybe I'm going to call this team and favorite team. All right, now this is the name of the table is going to be team, and then the description is going to be favorite team here. And these allow me to add attributes to the codes. You may see these in a number of the user code tables where you might have different settings in there that apply to like the color of a time off, things like that. So you could use these for different things in the codes. It adds a field to the code to put another value in there. So maybe I want to say uniform color, all right, just to show you what that would look like. And I'll save this. So once I add that in there, now I can come in here and there's my favorite team. And so here I can go ahead and put down the code here. So let's see, I don't want to make anybody upset, but anytime you pick a favorite team, people are going to be upset. Let's do LA Lakers. All right. So LAL is my code. LA Lakers is the description there. And then I'm going to say orange, blue, and gold. All right. So those are the colors, and save that just so you can kind of see how that works there. Of course, you know, this one might be a little bit complicated. There's so many different teams and all these different sports, but I think you get the idea of how that would work there. All right, now let's look at actually using those. Of course, I could go back to custom field and I could add that, say, to probably not the timesheet, but the employee demographics. And I could, instead of being text, this could have been a dropdown. But let's make a custom screen so you can see how that works. Now I have a couple I've already created. I'm going to make a new one here, and I'm going to call this sports. All right, so the name of it is sports. The code can match the name. Now, the thing with the code is you cannot have any spaces in the code, and I think we may have some things on special characters as well, but I can't do like favorite space sports. You'll notice how it turned red as soon as I did a space. You cannot have that. Oh, so you can do letters, numbers, and underscore. So if you wanted to do like favorite sports and put an exclamation, that won't work. All right, so the code is kind of behind the scenes thing. The name is what's going to show up in the menu. All right, the menu location. Now this is important because there's three places where it can be shown: HR, self-service, and team. So HR is what you would see here in the admin. Self-service is what you would see over here. So I've got my company property, and then team is what, let's say, a manager might see for their employees. So back on this one here, team company property. So I can see my team members property as an example. So you could choose one or more of these. I'm going to do HR and self-service. There's no reason the manager needs to see that right now, but I can do that. And then section is, where do you want it to show up in the different menus? So right now we have these 4 menus where you can show up. So pay, benefits, learning, and personal information. So we've got pay, benefits, learning, and then personal information down here. All right, now if you're saying, hey, you know, I'd love it if I could put it under, I don't know, performance, make that suggestion in our help, in our suggestion box. So you can come in here and you can say, yep, I think it'd be a great idea if we could add this to the time screen or something like that. So you can make a new idea and publish it out there, and you know, we may or may not add that. We usually go through those things, and if it's really popular, we'll add them. You know, we probably will add it either way, but it might take a little bit longer if it's not super popular. But here you can see these. I'm going to put it under personal information. All right, so workflow. So we've talked about workflows in the past. This allows you to have some type of approval if somebody adds or changes something on the custom screen. So do you want that for this sports one? I don't really need it, but if I did, I would go down, I could make a workflow that maybe goes to, I don't know, HR or something like that to get approval. All right, fields. So these are the fields that are going to show up on my custom screen. Now, there are 2 different types. There's fields and there's table fields. And what does that look like here? When I click on property, the fields are up here. They are one record for this screen. I can't have multiple ones in here. And then table fields allow you to put multiple records. So for this company property, I may not want this up here. Maybe I want to just show, let's say, their department or something. But down here is all the property I give them. So I might have, you know, multiple records for things I do, or you know, sports teams. Maybe I allow them to put in multiple teams because they have like different sports. They like soccer and basketball and hockey, so they put down 3 different teams. All right, so it could be that you have 3 records there with nothing up at the top. Or, you know, if you just want to say, what is your favorite team, your all-time favorite team, we don't care what sport, pick one, then you might put it up here. All right, so that's the difference between fields and table fields. So how do you add a field? Click add. Very simple here. We've got the label of the field back here, the label, type of property as an example, and then the type of field. So maybe I say favorite sport. All right, so they get to type in whatever their favorite sport is right here. And I could, again, make it certain types of things here. So you'll see various ones. Let me just go over these. A checkbox what this allows them to do is like check it off. Yeah, this is my favorite sport. So maybe you list different sports and you say, you know, like I said, soccer, basketball, hockey, football, you know, whatever, and they check one of them. All right, that'd be a checkbox there. Currency would mean there's, you know, a dollars or, you know, currency there. You know, if you're doing in UK pounds or euros or dollars, whatever, that'd be the currency. A date, they pick a date. Maybe you say the date you last went to a game. Drop down menu. So we looked at a drop down menu before, so I'll do that in a second here. File attachment. Maybe you want them to upload a picture from their, you know, the favorite game they went to or something. Memo. A memo is a large text box that they can type into. So perhaps you want them to type in their, you know, favorite experience, and they're going to, you know, type a paragraph or two in there about whatever they did. Multi-selection is again a drop down, but they can select more than one value. Number is a number that's not currency. So, you know, how many games have you been to? And they type in 75 or something. Standard. Now, these are one of our standard fields in the system. So I'm going to click this one just to show you. There's a number of fields that you can select from the employee's information. So like I said, maybe you want like their department there. Okay. Now if you add a standard field, they cannot edit it. It's just showing the information. And then text, we already looked at text for the custom field, but they type in something into the text. All right, so I'm going to do text as my favorite sport here, and I'm going to allow them to type in 40 characters. All right, now again with the field format, none of those apply in this situation. Let's go ahead and make this required, and it's active. Now, if it's not active, that means it's not going to show. The reason this is here is because it needs to be active to collect data, but perhaps you're no longer asking that question or collecting that information, but there's already records there. You can't delete it if there's already information in there, so you can make it inactive and it hides it. All right, I'll do a favorite sport, and let me do let's just call this a department. I don't know, maybe we're doing like some type of survey or something like that. So I'll do standard and I'll choose department here. And one more, I'm going to say date of last game attended. And I'll make this a date field. All right, now when I do a date field, you'll see here I have an action. This allows me to have a notification on here. So I might say that I want to set a condition and say notify them after a certain number of days, weeks, or months, or before a certain number of days, weeks, or months. So maybe you're going to say like next game that you want to go to, and they'll put down the Super Bowl. And then, you know, that's in a few months. So maybe you want to notify them 30 days out in case they don't remember that the Super Bowl's coming out. So something like that. You can do that for here. It allows you to have a notification go out. Now the preset allows you to say notify them on this day. So maybe you let them know, you know, the week before that game is happening or whatever. So that's what the action allows you to do if you'd like to do that. All right, so I've got those three. Let me use that drop down menu, and I'm going to say favorite team, and I'm going to do a drop down. Now, when I do a drop down, I will see the standard drop downs that are available for system and user tables. And I should also see my custom drop down menus that I added. So favorite team is right there. All right, and I'll go ahead and save that. So just so you can see the fields there now, the tables, I might want to put down here different things where maybe, I don't know why I'd be collecting it on here, but maybe I want to do like each sport or something like that. I could say sports, and then they type in the sport, and then favorite team, and they type in the team. So you could use that for this. So sport, and this will be text. And I'll make this 40. And then I'll make a favorite team, and this will again be text. I won't do a drop down for this one just to make it easy. And I'll do 50 characters there. All right, just so you can kind of see what that looks like. Okay, so once I have this set up, and I could have many more fields than this if I wanted to have, I don't know, 20 other fields to collect data on whatever it is. Same thing with the table. I could have as many fields as I like down here. I don't believe we have a limit. I don't know of one. But here's my thing out here. Now, one thing you'll see is this is not published. What that means is that if I go out here to the personal information, it's not here. because it's not published. Same thing if I went to the employee screen, it would not be there because I haven't published it yet. So I do need to come back into it and push publish to have it show up. All right, so now when I push publish, it will be available to collect data. All right, so let's go to show you what it looks like. I will go ahead and pick somebody here. And when I go to, and let me refresh because I just added it. If somebody's already in the system, they may need to refresh to see it. So I didn't see it at first, but now here's sports. Here's my new record out here. And so here I can say football, game they last attended. Let's say I don't remember when the Super Bowl was exactly, but let's just say it was on the 11th or the 12th. All right, so they went to the Super Bowl, and here now I've only got one in my drop-down menu, so hopefully they're a Lakers fan. All right, here's the department. You'll see I can't edit that. He's in the distribution department. And then down here, I might want to say, say college football. And he is I don't know, Crimson Tide fan. All right, and then maybe he's going to say hockey, and he is a Maple Leafs fan. He's a long-suffering Maple Leafs fan. All right, and then maybe baseball, and he puts down, I don't know, the Red Sox. I don't know, probably be a weird combination, but maybe that's what they're doing. Anyway, so you can see how that works with a table field versus the fields up here. So I can have multiple records down there. Right, so that is what that looks like on this side. Now, I'm not logged in as Chris, I'm logged in as Ted. So when Ted refreshes this, he's going to see sports, but he's going to see his own. He doesn't see Chris's. He could add his own. And then, of course, when I come over here and I brought up Ted's record to be able to see that. Now, what I can do, of course, is change this setting if I want to and say, well, it's okay if the manager sees that. So I can come into here and add in team. And now the manager would be able to see that. I believe Ted is Chris's manager. So he can come down here, see team sports, and there's Chris, and he can look at this information in here. All right, so that is very quickly adding custom screens out here. So you can see how that works. Now, what does it look like to report on that? So let's look at that here under reports. So you're going to be able to do this in the data grid is where you'll be able to see this information. So when I do this and I click on new, because I don't have any out here right now, there should be a module in here called custom fields where I can grab the different custom fields that are set up in my system if I want to see that. So I can see the code, the name, and the information that is in that custom field. So this is not the setting up of the fields. This is the actual, the information for the employees. This is setting up those custom fields. So if you ever want to get a listing of all your custom fields, that's what the module called custom fields allows you to do. All right, I believe we have one for employee custom fields. Yes, employee custom values. This is where you can see the custom field values that are on the employee's record. So should see that one. I missed it somewhere. What did I call that? I don't remember what the favorite team one. It should be out here though. Why don't I see that here? But I should be able to see my employee custom fields that are out here, and I don't remember what I called that one on the dependent screen because I don't see it here unless I'm just missing it. Let me just team. I don't see it, and I should be able to see my custom field right here. My employee custom field should be here. Now, the reason we show these other ones because you may want to add them in there. We're not just going to show the custom values. Let me just see what this value one does. It looks like it might be showing something in there because it's got something in there, but I will need to figure out where it is because it's not telling me the custom field name unless Connor or Patrick can point me in the right direction. I don't know. Here we go. Maybe it's label. We'll give that to me, and then there it is. So it's the one called label. And then there's the actual value that's in there. I thought it was a column. I apologize. So it is you give it the label, and then there's this. So if you wanted the I don't remember what I called that one, the hour or a favorite team or something like that. I'm sure it's going to be in here somewhere. You can do a filter on here. So you can say my criteria, the label is favorite team. And so maybe I say it contains the word team. And if I did save that one, I should see the one person. I don't remember if I saved it. Maybe I didn't save it on his demographics. I don't know. Probably making people upset. I'm choosing like the Maple Leafs, the Yankees, Crimson Tide. There's probably people going like, I don't like those guys. But I think you get the idea there. Hopefully this will now show something in there. There we go. All right, and of course, I probably want to put like their name and stuff like that, but this is using the module. So employee custom values, you do need to put the label. And this can be, I did contains team because I couldn't remember if it was called favorite team or not. Yeah, favorite sports team. So I just did team. So you could use the actual name there to get that. Now, the other thing you could do, well, there's a couple of things. One is a table, and you can go to your custom screen, custom table for this. So I believe it's under, I think it's a little bit wider, employee custom value, and then demographics, and I can grab the data from there. The other thing is SQL. So in the data dictionary, you can grab the tables that have that in there. This is way more complex than I'm going to cover here in the next minute or two. So if you do want to write SQL, please reach out to support, and we can give you some guidance on that. But here you'll see custom screen. So I made an entire custom screen. So now I want to use that for a data grid report or an ad hoc report, whatever you want to call that. And so I will choose the one I created. And let me just do all the fields. Now, what you don't see here is like their name and employee number and stuff like that. That's because we automatically include that. So there's their name and their employee number, their location. So those three fields are automatically included. And then here are the other fields where I collected information. Now, the reason I see stuff like the department listed twice and stuff like that is because I had those these as like table fields. So I see these twice. That's why the employee is listed there twice. All right, and then I might want to save this and call this like team information or something like that. Okay, so that is very quickly custom fields, custom screens, and then reporting on them using the data grid. So what are we going to be covering next? Let me share that screen there. Should switch over to this right here. I think it's going to show this. So this is, oops, this is our agenda. Hopefully showing this on, I can't tell if it's on the screen here, but oh, my PowerPoint closed out for some reason. So what we're covering next, in 2 weeks, we're going to be covering recruiting, and specifically we're talking about candidates. So hopefully this shares here. We're going to be talking about candidates here on the 25th. So you're interested in candidates. A few weeks ago, we talked about open jobs. So today, in a couple weeks, we're going to talk about candidates. And then a couple weeks from then, we're going to talk about E-Verify. So you actually saw a custom field for E-Verify. We'll talk about how to set it all up and use it. So you can do that. If maybe you're not using it now, you're interested in how that works, we'll show you how to do that. That's specifically for the US. I don't believe there's anything like that in Canada right now. So if you're in Canada, you're certainly welcome to join and listen along, but it won't work for you. And then towards the end of August, which sounds strange, ESS train the trainer. So we're just going to kind of go over, how do you train people to use ESS? Obviously, I don't have a huge amount of time there, only 30 minutes, but do that real quickly to try to help you train your employees on using self-service. Maybe you need a little guidance on that. So we're going to cover that. So as always, if you do have questions, I don't know if there's any that came in the Q&A, but if you do have questions from now forward, please reach out to us. There's our phone number and email address. If you're working with a partner, you can reach out to them. And of course, within the system, there's always that help button that I showed you when I was doing the adding, something into the new ideas. You can use that to see that number and the email address in the help, as well as you can post a ticket in there. So actually, I want to show that because sometimes people don't know that you can actually post a ticket right from the admin right here. This little support button allows you to create a ticket. So you don't have to necessarily email or call, but you can also see the tickets that you've done. So like, oh, what is this error when importing time? I can see what the status is on that. The new ideas. And then also on the release notes. So if you're ever curious about that stuff, the release notes are here. So we do have a new release coming out shortly. So these will be updated. It hasn't been, it has been a few months, but there's a new release coming out in a couple of weeks. So you'll be able to see those out there. But if you're curious about those, you can see that. And like I mentioned, there's our support information. All right, so thank you for joining us today. I hope to see everybody and maybe other people, more people in a couple of weeks. So thank you so much for your time and have a great day.